does it again, this time in Bristol. Meanwhile, the Winston Cuppers finally get some BGN revenge. A World of Outlaws driver is not good to the last drop, and history is made in sprint car racing out west. Hi, everybody. I'm Pat Patterson, and welcome to On Pit Road Final Edition, the only hour-long news and highlight show in the motorsports business. We give you the most in-depth look at the weekend in racing, so strap in to those seatbelts because we're about to take off. The first leg of our journey takes us to the world's fastest half-mile, Bristol International Raceway. With 36-degree banking, it's the steepest track in NASCAR, and once again, the Winston Cup Tour found out just how brutal it can be when they visited there this afternoon. Jason Young has the highlights.
This race has never gone caution-free. Today will be no different as Dale Earnhardt takes a bite out of the wall in turn 4. Here's a sight you don't see very often, the Goodwrench Chevy going to the garage for repairs. This could be the start of an epidemic of yellow fever. Caution number 2 involving Chuck Bound, Jimmy Spencer, Todd Bodine, and Bobby Hamilton. During this caution, Earnhardt returns, not quite as aerodynamic as before. These drivers must have forgotten their vaccinations for the dreaded yellow fever. Kyle Petty starts it with a little help from Jeff Burton. Brett Bodine is also collected, and he spins at the other end. This is the battle for the 6th spot between John Andretti and Ted Musgrave. That's the start of caution number 7. Robert Presley, Ken Schrader, Morgan Shepherd, and Ricky Craven are also collected. Here's the view from Shepherd's roof cam, and you get a great shot of Craven's Kodiak Chevy from the underside. He hits Shepherd and then lands on Schrader. At the same time, racing to the yellow, Jimmy Spencer goes low, as does Jeff Bodine. Bodine got the worst of it. Just past lap 400 with 100 to go, Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin exchange the top spot in favor of the DuPont driver. But the man who's really on the move is Bobby Hamilton in the STP Petty-owned Pontiac. He's up to 7th by Ricky Rudd for the spot. But wait a minute, Martin is off the pace. He was just 5 seconds out of first, but a flat tire sends him to the pits with 9 laps to go and drops him 2 laps down. He finishes the day in the 8th spot after starting on the pole. But up front, Gordon stays out of trouble and hangs on for his 3rd win of the season. Rusty Wallace is the best finishing Ford in 2nd, followed by Darrell Waltrip, Bobby Hamilton, and rounding out the top 5 is Ricky Rudd. For On Pit Road Final Edition, I'm Jason Young reporting.
The body shop work continues. So in the points, Earnhardt's poor finishes move Sterling Marlin into the best position he's ever been at this point of the season. Mark Martin is doing his usual top 5 appearance, while Gordon's latest win has him up to 4th in the points. Terry Labonte, who has NASCAR's longest consecutive starting streak, is right there with him. Before the green flag even waved at Bristol, there was already lots to talk about. Here's a look at some of the latest news coming out of the Winston Cup ranks as Mark Allen has a story.
Going into today, Chevys had won all 5 races so far, and a lot of people outside the Bowtie camp thought the Monte Carlo was way better than either the Pontiac or Ford. Well, NASCAR took 1 car from all 3 makes to the wind tunnel this past week and wouldn't say much beyond issuing the following release, which we summarize. It will take several weeks for the gathered data to be analyzed. At this time, we have no planned rules changes. In other developments at Bristol this week, Loy Allen Jr. left the 27 Hooters team, or was asked to leave, the day before qualifying. The team had met with virtually no success of any kind so far this year, so the change was made. Bud Strickland came to Bristol to be a team consultant to Kenny Bernstein and Steve Kinzer. He ended up in the 27 car.
You know, I come in here to go to work for Kenny Bernstein and Richard Broom and to help Steve Kinzer, and you know, I put my helmet and uniform and everything in that truck, and you know, then I looked up this morning after I did that, and Richard Broom stand over in the 27 trailer and motioned for me to come over there, and so you know, he said, you know, Mike Hill and them need a driver and want to know, would you mind doing that, driving for them today, and you know, we'll just you know, you can help us again. So right now that's what I'm doing.
Neither Strickland nor Kinzer made the show Sunday. And Bobby Labonte couldn't go the distance in the Food City 500. His broken shoulder from Darlington meant David Green was tapped to fill the seat. He qualified the car 5th and took over early in the event before crashing, as you saw moments ago.
Up next on Pit Road Final Edition, we'll see what's happening in IndyCar. Then later, it's the Straightliners with another repeat performance. Stick around, everybody.
On Pit Road Preview is brought to you by your GM Goodwrench service dealer. We want your business. And by AC Delco. It's like buying time.
Welcome back live to the show, everybody. Every year in the IndyCar series, the major chassis makers tinker a little bit to try to catch up with each other. This year, the changes were to try to catch the Penske's, which now had won just about everything important in the sport last season. But this is a different year, and the Penske's entered today's race in Phoenix without a win or even a top 10 finish. The team manager says that's partly because their homegrown chassis has a handicap that Lola and Renard don't.
No, we're the only people that run a Penske. So there's no input to the factory from anybody but us, whereas if you've got a Lola or a Reynard, you've got 20 or 30 cars out there that are all giving some feedback to the factory. They might not tell them everything, but the factory has some clue of what's going on from both a performance and reliability viewpoint. So we have to come out here and do everything ourselves, whether it's the long durability runs or the short qualifying simulations or whatever. So testing's an important aspect, there's no doubt about it, particularly for us. Like I said, we're on our own.
Now, Sprague's point is well taken, though the first two events of 1995, the typical IndyCar field averaged 13 Renard chassis, with Lola a close second at 11. Penske had just 3. Now, Penske's didn't have that many last year either, and they still smoked the competition. So how'd they do today at Phoenix? Well, not bad, but still not a win. That honor went to Robbie Gordon for the first time in his career. He won by less than a second over Michael Andretti. Emerson Fittipaldi came in 3rd. Paul Tracy was 4th. And Jacques Villeneuve finished 5th. No winner this year has been over the age of 26. In the points, Tracy leads for the first time ever with a 3-way tie for 2nd. Gugelman is in the 5th spot. Now, the IndyCar race was the feature event at Phoenix this weekend, but there were lots of other racing going on at the track. On Saturday was the Dodge Shelby Pro Series, and Neil Kassebaum has the highlights.
Many of last year's standouts were back for another season of Shelby Pro Racing. The series is under new ownership this year, but little else has changed, and where last year's opener was a pretty clean affair, this one has enough trouble for several races. Series champ Mike Davies is the #1 starter, but he gives up the point right away to Sam Schmidt, who's also running the Hooters Formula Cup Series this year. The field's quickly under yellow as Gary Tiller has a very short afternoon on the first lap. He's done for the day. Schmidt is strong and apparently bulletproof through the first half of the race. In fact, he's got this race well in hand until this spin on lap 27 that takes him out of the lead and puts Davies back in front. Then things get ugly. Bud Clark is the one missing his bodywork, and the tire heads into the stands, not unlike what happened last year in the IndyCar race at PIR. Dick Fairbanks is the car briefly on fire. The fan and Fairbanks are headed to the hospital. Both will be okay. Just when the field gets set for the final shootout, Russell Arago stalls, and he can't be cleared in time to get the event restarted. So Davies wins from the pole, but not in the usual fashion.
Well, right at the start, I kind of bumped Sam a little bit. I mean, it wasn't intentional. We raced down into turn 1 pretty hard and didn't even expect him to be there. And I looked up, and there he was, and I was sitting on him, and we were running pretty quick times. I think about 28.9s, 29 flats, which were real quick. And I knew tires would be a problem, so I knew if I sat on him that, you know, one of us would have a tire problem. Hopefully he would and I wouldn't. And as I was watching Sam's car, he was starting to get some rings on the right rear, so I knew he was hurting his right rear, and I just kind of sat on him, and he got pinched in traffic a little bit and looped it. And then, I mean, I hate to end under yellow, but I'll take the win.
Pabst takes 2nd, with Schmidt still taking 3rd. Jim DeBoer was 4th, and Ron Hendrickson is 5th. This is Neil Kassebaum reporting for On Pit Road, Final Edition.
Thanks, Neil. Up next, it's off to California for some sprint car action. Don't go anywhere, because there's lots more of On Pit Road Final Edition on the way. Welcome back, everybody. What do you call a racing series within a racing series? Well, if you're a sprint car fan, you call it the Northern Auto Racing Club and the Golden State Challenge. Confused? Well, let's break it down for you. The NARC series is 36 races a year in California, and of those, 13 are the Golden State Challenge events. They're held at 6 different racetracks, and the driver with the most points from all 13 races is named, of course, the King of California. Those points are also included in the chase for the NARC title and towards the championship at each individual track. So with all that in mind, we're ready to move on to the next step. The 95 season finally got an event in without the weather problems. 31 lead-footed guys and 1 female signed in at John Paget's Silver Dollar Speedway, and what an evening it was.
Last year, Shauna Wilski had this happen in the Mini Gold Cup. Last night, she started her heat on the front row along with Danny Burton. On the original start, 36 Sean Fenn, the 94 co-rookie of the year, was all out of shape and ended up a wall banger right underneath the flagman, the best seat in the house. Wilski was running a good line until she bounced through some ruts and Kevin Pylant passed her downstairs. The best race of the night was the B-Main. 7 Jimmy Sills, the USAC Silver Crown champion, started 12th. On the restart with 2 laps to go, he was 6th with only 4 transferring to the main. Sills makes the pass to 4th on the last corner as Brian Bullard wheelies to the flag into 5th and heads home for the evening. The feature field is some kind of strong. It's got Brent Kading, Steve Kent, Chuck Gurney, Tim Green, the big dogs. On the pole is Wilski, along with the 87 NARC champ Jason McMillan. So who leads early on? Wilski, of course. Lap 5, Jason Statler lays it over on the side, creating a restart. With the green back out, McMillan goes wide and Gurney's got a problem. McMillan's got a broken rear suspension. Gurney limps along for a while. Lap 12 and Kent and Brian Hodges both walk away from a wreck that wipes out both cars. So what happens on the money lap? The lady from Bothell, Washington teaches the guys a lesson to become the first woman to ever win a touring sprint car race in any series, anywhere.
I could hear him coming. I could hear Rossi, and I could see Rossi on the outside. And my crew was telling me that BK was running down and down low, and if he's running down low, you know he's right on your rear end. So we had to push it a little.
Rossi was 2nd, Paul McMahon was 3rd with Kading, and Jason Lund chasing the queen of sprint car racing.
All right, while the NARC sprinters were at Chico last night, the wingless warriors of the Sprint Car Racing Association were in another part of California. It was race number 4 on the 95 schedule, and here's what happened.
The Ventura Raceway in Ventura, California plays host for the most recent stop on the SCRA Tour, and in a heat race, last week's Bakersfield winner Jerry Meyer in the 63 gets nailed by Mike Kirby in a heat race. Both are okay. In the main event, Ricky Gaunt in the 113 machine has the pole and immediately jumps out front, while behind him everyone else, including J.J. Yaley, battle for the runner-up spot. But the man with the best moves through the middle laps is Ron Schumann, who moves his way into the top 3, and with a veteran move takes 2nd from Yaley by lap 15. The next step for Schumann is to get by Gaunt for the lead, but a miscue in traffic opens the door for Yaley to slip his blue number 5 by for the top spot. At the other end, Gaunt dives in too deep and spins on lap 24. Yaley and Leland McSpadden battle back to the yellow, but it doesn't matter. The order is reverted back to the last complete lap, giving Schumann the point. After that, Schumann goes without serious challenge and takes his first win of the season. 2nd through 5th is Yaley, McSpadden, Corey Kruzman, and Mike Kirby.
Thanks, J-Man. When we come back, Busch Grand National highlights from Bristol. But first, here's a look at what's coming your way this week in the world of racing. Welcome back, everybody. At the top of our show, we talked about this afternoon's Winston Cup stop at Bristol, but long before those guys ever made their first lap, the Busch Grand National drivers had already hung up their battle gear after a grueling Saturday afternoon.
Bristol's always trouble. The question is how many will go home with most of a race car. Early laps, pole sitter David Green loses an oil pump belt that puts him behind the wall for a while before the motor gives up. Then the crashing begins, but it's mostly one car early. That's Jeff Green about to lose a bumper, but not the lead lap. There's Jeff Fuller, who must be living right for another single car incident. Then Thunder Valley rears its ugly head thanks to Tim Fedewa and Jim Bound. Fedewa in the 55 makes all the right decisions, but those behind are bearing down. And when it's all over, fourth-place pointsman Phil Parsons is battered, while points leader Johnny Benson is also living clean. He barely gets a scratch. Halfway came under caution-ish. Kirk Shelmerdine gets a nudge from Larry Pearson, and the wall wasn't the big culprit. Bobby Hillen was. He also had gotten a tap. Here's another multi-car mess. Rick Wilson's in the 75, Bobby Hamilton in the 42 Band-Aid car. Make your own joke on that one. How about Benson in the 74 trying to get by fifth-place pointsman Rodney Combs? He makes it. Bobby Dotter doesn't, and Combs wrestles to keep his WCW car off the wall. That's my joke. Combs stays on the lead lap despite no caution. Either everybody was tired of beating on each other, or this race had a TV time limit. Whatever, a long stretch of green played right into Steve Grissom's hands. After chasing second-place Chad Little for 30 laps, the Channel Lock driver makes a confident move to take the position. The only man left ahead is Mark Martin, who is driving the tires off his car. With 23 to go, the leader is way too loose to stay in front, and Grissom makes the pass look easy. The last lap, everything goes crazy. A big wreck on the front stretch. The leaders charge to the line to take the yellow and white flags. But watch the dirt tracking going on a bit further back. Nobody hit anybody, and here's the final rundown, which is dominated by Winston Cup regulars for the first time all season. Little's the only BGN regular, while a case could be made that Kenny Wallace isn't a regular in either series right now. In the points, Benson's sixth place keeps him solidly atop the standings. Labonte's just run his last Busch race for a while, so he'll soon be falling from second. Little's got a little cushion over Parsons for fourth, and Jason Keller moved into fifth.
And one of the survivors from yesterday's Grand National race joins us now, Jason Keller. And you know something? I know you're not old enough to have been in the Army yet, but in the Army, they used to give these hash marks for like yearly service. I believe they ought to hand out a hash mark every time you run Bristol and you walk away from that place. You guys even moved up into points.
Yeah, we're real fortunate that Budget Gourmet Chevrolet ran good, and I don't know how we got out of there in one piece, but we did, and we'll go to Hickory.
I know when you started that race, you probably, like everybody else, had to say, well, I have no earthly idea what's going to happen. But was lap traffic as much of a problem as the highlights showed that it was?
Well, it was, Bristol's been known for a one-groove racetrack, and that's what it was yesterday and today. So, but we knew going into it was like that, and a lot of the drivers took it as that, but some of them didn't, and it was a wild day.
What about the pit road? It also is awfully crowded over there. It looked like your guys really hustled hard for you, and that has to make a big difference on that short of a racetrack.
Yeah, they are. We're really coming together as a team, and the guys had a real good pit stop, and we basically came out about where we went in the pits. That's good for us, and now we can improve on that and get a little bit better as the year goes on, but we're excited, and everything's going good for us right now.
The comfort level you have behind the wheel with the group that you're working with, does all that feel like it's gelling together, to use that phrase?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know the comfort level. I don't know. I'm not really quite comfortable as I need to, but as far as my crew, I have a great bunch of guys there in Greenville, South Carolina, and a great sponsor behind me, so everything's going good. I need a little bit more experience. I really need a lot more experience, but we're getting that, and I think if there's a weak link in my team, I'm a little bit of the weak link, but I'm working towards not being that weak link.
Well, a lot of the late model racing that you did and a lot of the short tracking that you did certainly has to at least give you a confidence level when you go to a place like Bristol, because you have run there in the past and had some success there in the past.
Yeah. Bristol's been a good racetrack for us. All in all, we finished sixth there before, and we got another top 10 this weekend. So anytime I go to a short track race or short track, I like those tracks, and seem to do well there.
When you get to a certain point in the points, which you are now, you're in that fifth spot. A lot of times guys will start putting some extra pressure on themselves, and will start looking and trying to find something that maybe isn't there. You feel pretty good about, in terms of having a leader on your team that kind of balances you guys and say, to stay focused on what's going on? Have you got that kind of communication going on?
Yeah, we do, and we're getting it more and more as races go on, and we're getting better and better. But we really need to win a race. Jason Keller really needs to win a race. I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself. But we're going to take it as it comes. We're not going to overstep our bounds. We're going to do what needs to be done to finish races, we hope, and to to be able to stay up in the points. And I think if you win races, you're going to be up in the points. So that's what we're focusing towards right now.
And the sponsorship program that you guys have put together this year, I mean, that as well as the performance you're getting on the racetrack, it's nice to go there dressed out with with a big name on the car and to have that kind of support besides just having the money.
Oh yeah, it is. And the guys at Budget Gourmet, they're really working good to promote the program like it needs to be promoted and promoting Jason Keller. So it's good for both of us, I hope, and I think it is. But last winter, or 2 winters ago, I didn't even have a sponsor. And this is the first full year that I've had a sponsor, so it was good to come out at Daytona with the sponsor, with the colors on the car, and with everything ready to go. I think it's shown, you know, we were able to plan over the winter like we needed to plan. We were able to put the right pieces and people in the right places, so I think it's shown.
Good. Great to see you. Glad you came out and stayed up with us tonight, and good luck at the next event, and we'll keep chronicling all of your efforts throughout the season.
Thanks a lot, Rick.
Jason Keller will be back with more of Final Edition right after this, but as we head to break, here's a look at some other finishers from yesterday's Busch Grand National race at Bristol. Welcome back, everybody. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm no rocket scientist. Yeah, I said that. So in the years past, trying to figure out how the NHRA computed its points was way beyond my limited math skills. I'm sure partly for my benefit and also for yours. The NHRA wisely revised the point system, and since we'll be showing it to you throughout the season here on Final Edition, this is how it works. This is how it works. Pay attention, there will be a quiz. The winner in each of the pro categories gets 100 points. The runner-up gets 80. Semifinal loser gets 60, and you see how the rest of the eliminations are paid out. In qualifying, the fastest car gets 8, and there are a declining scale where 13 through 16 just gets 1 point. And then there are bonuses. There's 10 points for making the qualification pass whenever you make eliminations or not. Set a new national ET record and earn 20 or more points. See how simple they've made it. Now you're armed with all that information so that we can move on to this weekend. Whew, I can't even believe I said all of that. The Straightliners were back in Gainesville, Florida, where the rain washed out the Gator Nationals a couple of weeks ago, but this weekend Mother Nature cooperated and they got the full show in.
Let's start with Funny Car, where top qualifier John Force stages against number 7, Dean Scusa. The Castrol driver had been posting the best ETs of the day coming in, and he does it again with a 518 pass at 291 miles per hour for his second win of the year, and this puts him in the points lead. In Top Fuel, Winter Nationals winner Larry Dixon makes the finals against number 1 qualifier Blaine Johnson, still winless in his career. The Miller driver hammers a great 473 at 302 miles per hour to take this title and extend his points lead.
Come in here and be able to win, you know, after the rainouts and everything, and even winning second time this year, it's way more than I ever thought.
And in Pro Stock, Warren Johnson was in the 6s earlier in eliminations, but in the finals, it was Darrell Alderman and Mark Pawick. The Dodge driver who qualified 13th is good when it matters for his 3rd Nationals win of the year and a padding of his points lead. Teammate Scott Jeffreyon is 2nd in the standings.
And what's next for the NHRA? Well, just check this out as we head to break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the big show, everybody. In any form of motorsports, there is a learning curve that a driver undergoes before becoming competitive. Tim Fiedelman knows all about that. He's making a steady progress, and one of the highlights so far is winning the BGN pole down at Darlington, South Carolina a week ago. The other is picking up a major sponsorship, and he joins me now with food, which is always good. That's right. I love for people to bring us stuff. Tim, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Pat.
You survived Darlington. Get another hash mark, just like I was saying a few minutes ago. You ought to get some kind of hash mark or a tattoo or something just for going there, right?
That's right. Every time we come out of there with all the fenders on, we're doing good. And, you know, the same car we're going to run probably at Hickory next week, so it's nice to have the guys who don't have to work so hard, and they're a little easier on me.
Well, give us your bird's eye synopsis of your race at Bristol. How was it for you?
Well, you know, we run real good. We qualified 15th, which was pretty good. We struggled a little bit there in the past qualifying, so I really wanted to up my qualifying effort, and it went pretty good. I was pretty happy with that. And, you know, we had a misfortunate incident in the pits. The catch can got left in, and we come out fourth, and the can was still in the trunk, I guess, and they black flagged us, so we had to go to the rear of the line. But we made it up back to 11th, finished 11th, run on the lead lap all day. Pretty good race for us at Bristol. You know, we had Lemon Chill on the car for the first time, and you know, had a good showing for them. And Kentucky Fried Chicken was also on the hood, and Manola Color Copiers was also with us for the whole year. So
you were chilling and checking
we're chilling
out, right?
And
there you go.
Copying and doing the whole 9 yards. So.
Kenny Wallace said, I love this, he said, running Bristol is like flying a jet plane in your basement. And I thought that was just about...
That was cool.
That just about says it all,
That's
doesn't
right,
it? I mean, it really, you carry so much speed into the corners there.
Yeah, you do. And, you know, like, you can never get mentally too prepared for Bristol. It's like you think you are until you get there and make your first laps, and your heart rate's going about 160. And, you know, it takes me a couple practice sessions before I really get in the groove. And same with the race. You know, you practice there the day before, and then all of a sudden you're stuck out there with 40 other cars. And mentally, you really got to get prepared for Bristol.
It seems like the guys that could pick the throttle up right in the middle of the turn, I guess what it means is that getting off the turn was probably even more important than getting in. Is that?
Yeah, it usually is there because it's hard to pass. You can't go on the outside of someone getting in the corners at Bristol, and if you can get off good, you can usually get under somebody, and that makes all the difference in the world. Once you get a nose under them, you pretty much got the pass, and that's the only way to pass at Bristol usually.
Whoever has the radio that's talking to you, that's spotting for you, man, that guy's almost driving the car when he gets down to it at that place.
That's for sure. You know, I always tell my spotter at Bristol, just be ready for anything. And you know, Ray DeWitt, my car owner, does my spotting for me there, so he's been doing it the last 3 years, and it works out pretty good.
I don't think I'd ever seen anybody as excited as Ray was when you won the pole down at Darlington last weekend. I was standing there on the pit road when you came in, and there was like one other car left to go, and Ray was just like about to come unglued. These guys are real excited when you do well.
Yeah, they are. You know, we've come a long way in the last couple of years, and our program seems to be getting better and better. We just, you know, they've been behind me 100%, and that's part of the improvement, I think. No matter what I do, they're behind me, and it shows up on the track too.
Oh, I'm sorry. You just keep talking.
Get a chill for a minute.
His stuff not bad. And you know, what did you tell me? You're going to put like a whole big container of this?
Yeah, we're going to have a freezer at the racetrack, so when all the crews and drivers can come by and media.
No sugar, right?
No fat. No fat,
no sugar.
Well, there's sugar, but
no cholesterol.
But no fat, no cholesterol. That's right.
Sleep
so we can eat it.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys out in the truck are going to want some of that. Hey, yeah, we'll have to take. They're yelling in the truck, as a matter of fact, to be sure and leave some of this. Thanks so much for coming around.
Well,
congratulations on the new sponsor.
Thanks.
And we'll keep our eye on you.
Okay.
Tim Fiedler. Out on the West Coast, the NASCAR Southwest Tour is in action last weekend. The event was at El Cajon, California, and Jerry Garrett has our report.
Racing on the West Coast doesn't get much better than NASCAR's Southwest Tour, which was in action over the weekend at Cajon Speedway near San Diego. The 44 car of Bob Lyon and the number 70 of Chris Trickle started on the front row, and they ran 1-2 past the halfway point in this race. Several cautions slowed the early going, but none of the incidents was particularly serious. Although the second spin of the night for number 95, Kenny Shepard, looked like it was going to be a lot worse than it really wound up being. Trickle and Lyon finally lost the lead when they were juked by a slower car running out in front of them. And that gave the opportunity to take the lead to number 2, Craig Rodman, and number 07, Lance Hooper. They traded the lead back and forth until Rodman finally established himself up front. With less than 10 laps to go, Lyon got back up among the leaders and tried to retake the lead, but he and Hooper collided. Lyon spun into the infield, and Hooper was sent to the back of the pack. And that left Rodman with a clean shot to take his first ever series victory, even though he had some mechanical problems that made him worry at the finish.
You know, I was just trying to protect my line there, and I kind of actually messed up on that last start and missed a shift, and I think I dropped a cylinder or something because it just wasn't getting off the turn like it was before.
Take it any way you can get it, I guess.
That's right. It's a long time coming.
As we watch Craig Rodman celebrating his victory, let's take a look at the rest of the top 5. Jim Engelbright, Ken Boyd, Ron Hornaday Jr., and number 5, Brian Germoni. Reporting from Cajon Speedway in Southern California, this is Jerry Garrett.
Oh, thanks, Jerry. Coming up, the Outlaws take over the Midwest. More of Final Edition right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Ever since Steve Kinser announced that he was leaving sprint car racing for Winston Cup, the debate was raging over who will be the next Outlaws king. Kinser won it 14 times, so nobody else had much of a chance. But now he's gone. Those guys who finished second over the years must be chomping at the bit. The most recent runner-ups are Dave Blaney, Stevie Smith, and the King's cousin Mark. Expect all three to be strong contenders this year. Now, speaking of Outlaws, obviously I thought there was a piece of tape there. Now, speaking of Outlaws, last week there was they just wrapped up their show in Oklahoma City. When they came on the air, they were able to tell you about who won, but now we've gone one step better and we'll show you. Here are the highlights from that and from last night's round in Memphis.
Last Sunday in Oklahoma City, the afternoon started off lousy for fast qualifier Danny Lasoski, who hit the guardrail in the Vibrant Dash. Considered one of the favorites to replace Steve Kinser going into the season, Lasoski failed to make the feature in his backup car and fell to 11th in points. In the feature event, it's points leader Mark Kinser on the pole and taking the lead at the drop of the green. He's totally hooked up and starts putting the rest of the field way behind him. So the battle to watch is for second between number 10 Dave Blaney and Jack Hodenshield in the 22. First, Blaney steals the spot from Hod, but then he gets caught up behind a lap car and the Pennzoil driver takes it back. That puts Hodenshield in just the right place to take the lead when Kinser takes the high line in traffic. Then Blaney gets by him for second when he runs up over Terry McCarl. Just after that, Kinser's day is done after he loses his wing and hits the backstretch wall. The hard hit sent him to the hospital for a checkup, but he was later released. When the track's cleared, it's back to racing, and Hodenshield is alone up front the rest of the way, earning his first win of the season and taking over the series points lead. Blaney holds on to second, and third goes to Stevie Smith. Teammates Jeff Swindell and Greg Hodnett round out the top five. Almost a week later, and Kinser is still a little woozy. Scrambled eggs is how his wife put it. Kinser runs well in his heat to dispel any concerns about his driving. Greg Hodnett is from Memphis and thus a crowd favorite, in addition to already winning a feature this year. The feature pays $6 grand to win with Danny Lasoski and Aaron Berryhill on the front row, and the dude jumps off into the lead. The track has undergone several length changes over the years, but now it's back to a 3/8 that's got more than one groove. Another local favorite is Sammy Swindell, who takes a position away from Dave Blaney early on. Berryhill then goes way upstairs in turn one to give Mark Kinser a hole too big to pass up for second. Same spot on the next lap, and Lasoski does a carbon copy, and so does Kinser, who takes over the front on lap 5. But 12 laps later, Kinser gets into a lap car, and the droopy right front tire is not good, but at least no one hits him. This is the dude's race all the way until the backstretch of the final lap. Something's wrong. He's out of gas. And there's Blaney in the right spot just in the nick of time to take the surprise win in Memphis.
Well, it was sort of a survival race, it seemed like. This track's tough. It's hard on you. And we had the nose, the radiator all smashed, and it runs hot. It wouldn't even run no more. And then Danny's car quit on him on the last lap. I guess run out of fuel. And, you know, he probably should have won it, but we was close enough to him that we could squeak up by him.
The lap before the white flag, it started missing. White flag lap, it died on the front straightaway, and then completely died on the back straightaway. And Dave Blaney won the race, and we got beat.
In the final rundown, Hodnett gets third with Sammy Swindell fourth and Stevie Smith fifth. After 8 races, Jack Hodenshield has a narrow advantage over Hodnett, while Blaney's win moves him closer to the front. Smith sits fourth, and Kinser's miscue drops him to fifth.
And as long as we're speculating on Kinser's replacement, here's another one to throw at you that could give us a clue. One of the current drivers competing for the title, Sammy Swindell, has more career wins than anyone else. He's got nearly 5 times as many victories as Dave Blaney, who's second. Mark Kinser, Stevie Smith, and Jeff Swindell are pretty even. Of course, Kinser has an incredible 384 wins, almost twice as many as Swindell, but Swindell is the only driver to ever beat Kinser for the title during the King's full-time career. In fact, Swindell did it twice, winning back-to-back in 1981 and 1982. The only other champion was Bobby Davis in 1989. That's the year Kinser competed with another series. Now, from sprint cars, we move to another form of open-wheel racing. The NASCAR Featherlight Modified Tour kicked off its season at Thompson, Connecticut this afternoon, and it was a good day for Tommy Crevino. He led most of the laps en route to his first win in the series. Tony Hirschman was second, while our on-pit road preview guest last week, Rick Fuller, finished third. Fourth went to Charlie Pastorak. Steve Park was fifth, and we'll have highlights of both on pit road final edition shows in the coming weeks. Now, straight ahead on this edition of Final Edition, we'll talk with a driver who wrestles his car around the track every week. Stay with us. Welcome back, everybody. The USAC Sprint Car racing season got underway without any weather delays. Maybe these open wheel guys should send their playbook to the NHRA. Here's a look at last night's race in Ohio.
The action at Eldora for anything with or without a wing is always entertaining. Earl Baltus gives the drivers a great track, and they usually accommodate the fans with a great show. Going into the 30-lap feature, these were the heat winners, so they were among the drivers who had to be favored to do well. At the start of the feature, semi-main winner Mark Casella jumps to the point, but there are problems up in turn 4 for Rose, who gets the worst of wheel contact and ends up finishing last. Once everyone gets sorted out on the restart, the man on the move is Dave Darland, who makes a nice move on Terry Shepard for the second spot, but Shepard battles back. A bit further back is Kevin Doty in the 25. He's 6th to be exact. By lap 4, Darland is in second, and moments later, Darland slides his number 36D to the point. Darland seems to have matters well in hand as he opens up a little margin on Doty, who's worked his way into second, but a long green flag stretch brings the leaders up to race traffic, and Doty does a first-rate slide job to take the lead with 5 laps to go. His cruise to the checkers isn't without a close call or two, but the winner of the 4 Crown race here last fall drives to victory. Darland takes second with All-Star champion Frankie Kerr third. Kevin Thomas was 4th, and Byron Reed takes 5th. In the point standings, Rusty McClure had the lead going into the next round at Winchester, Indiana late Sunday. We'll have those results next week.
Thanks, Neil. One driver who's had a tremendous amount of success on the dirt over the years is Rodney Combs, and in more recent days he's been part of the Richard Petty driving experience. He also is a full-time driver on the NASCAR Busch Grand National Circuit, and so far he's having pretty good season. Not bad so far, Rodney.
We can't complain. You know, last year at this time we was probably 22nd in points, and now we're 6th and only 30 points out of 4th place, I believe. And, you know, just had some real good runs, and 2 or 3 of them could have been a little better, but we just been a, you know, victim of circumstances, and, you know, and that comes with it. But, you know, we're 6th now, and Bob Johnson on board is helping incredibly. And I think the 9-to-1 Motors has been great for the Busch Series.
A lot of times it's not necessarily that you did anything that much different from last year as much as it is bad luck didn't follow you as much.
Well, that was true. You know, we had the V6s and nothing really just blowed up. We had little breakage with the valve springs and the gear drives, and small things just kept us from being there at the end of the race. I mean, we sat outside pole, we led races, had a chance to win 1 or 2, and it just didn't come our way. So this year our luck's been definitely better, and like I say again, the 9-to-1 Motors, and my crew chief Bob Johnson has brought a lot to the table for us.
You and I met each other back when you came out of West Virginia with J.D. Stacy and started racing Winston Cup cars, and I won't date us, but it has been a few days gone by since then. A lot of folks are you know, that are new to the sport are saying, Rodney Combs, well, he's a Busch Grand National guy. He's a new guy out there competing on this deal. Man, it's been a long time coming.
It has. You know, we've run probably about 60 Winston Cup races and actually led some of them too, and was qualified in the top 10, got 4 or 5 second-round fastest in that deal, and you know, and just never got in the right position or the right timing. As Humphrey Will always told me, my timing was always off to land that, you know, that real good deal.
Do you still want to do it, though? Is going back to a Cup car something you want to do? Now, you're financially involved with the driving school with Richard, and you guys are all partners together in that thing, and you know, you're making a living now at it. Is it enough to keep you from trying to dive back into the big show?
If I could get in a competitive situation, if not, I feel I'm in a competitive situation now. I want to win doing the Busch stuff. I won a lot of other series and quite a, you know, 400 or 500 feature wins in my career, and many in Australia. And this Busch thing is something I've got to win, and hopefully I can get 201 before Bobby Hamilton gets 201 for the King, and be able to stand Victor Lane with him, because that's a goal I've got right now. I've got to win a Busch race.
Well, and I said to the big show, Winston Cup, but God, Busch Grand National's a big show. I mean, it is its own big show today. In fact, you know, you could just about take that show to a racetrack, any racetrack in the country, all by itself, without a Cup show to go with it, and you're still going to fill the house every time.
Well, I think Bristol, you know, I believe it looked like it was 75% full.
Yeah.
Every race just about we've got from 2 to 6 to a dozen Winston Cup guys. Last year I got sent home, but so did Kenny Schrader and Dale Earnhardt, and every Cup driver got sent home. So I think the Busch Circuit, not because I'm running that side of the fence, I think it's one of the most competitive racing organizations going right now.
Well, kids got to be going crazy when they see that Hulkamania all over your car there. The old Hulkster giving you any advice on driving that thing these days?
Well, yeah, just wherever I start, wrestle my way to the front, you know, without getting in trouble, you know. So, you know, we've been doing that. The car has finished all 3 races it's been in, and we've finished all 7 races, you know, that we've been in with both cars. And, you know, with Hulk Hogan and WCW and Tracy Lawrence with the country music, and we got the Richard Petty Pit Tour happening at Charlotte. You know, we got a lot of neat things going with the 43 car, and just to run the 43 car for Richard Petty is great. And, you know, with Pontiac and Goodyear and our associate people, you know, you can't do it without them, you know, and my crew guys, you know, I mean, it's been a great year, even though we haven't had that top 5. We were 6th at Atlanta. We're close. We're going to get us some top 5s, and we're going to get that win this year.
Good. Save me a seat over there to make some laps in the school cars this year.
Well, you know, Richard Petty driving experience is doing well, and we'd be glad to have you, Pat. And, you know, we've gave you an offer. You just real busy
I'll be there. I'll be there.
And you got to get there, so Bob and Barry and Richard and myself be glad to have you.
Good, good. Good to see you. Glad you came out tonight.
Thanks, Pat.
All right, Rich.
Thanks very much.
Don't go away, because we're not done yet. We got a lot more modified action when Final Edition continues. Stay with us. Appreciate it, Rob.
On Pit Road, Final Edition is brought to you by your GM Goodwrench service dealer. We want your business. And by AC Delco. It's like buying time.
Welcome back, everybody. The Habit Tampa Dirt All-Stars always send us some of the best racing highlights you'll see on any dirt track, and last night's show was no different.
When one driver leads every official lap, you'd think it's a snoozer, but not the 8th stop of the 1995 season. True, Wendell Wallace jumped from the outside pole and was a master of traffic for the first half. This is a classic demonstration of hooked up, and he appears untouchable. Maybe that's a bad choice of words, because coming down the stretch, Scott Bloomquist has caught him, hit him, and nearly spun him to take the lead. Yes, the lead changes hands, but watch what happens to the reigning Habit Tampa champ. This is a classic mistake. And guess who he collects? Wallace. But they revert back to the last green flag lap, so that puts the 6 car back in front. If he's not too badly damaged to continue, Bloomquist goes to the back. Go figure, Wallace seems better with his nose shoved up, but he's still got to tread carefully when there's trouble at the back of the pack. When it's your night, and Wallace wins his first ever $10,000 feature. As you look at the finish order, a quick note that Bloomquist rallied to 13th and retains the series points lead.
In other dirt track action, the United States Modified Series may still be a young fledgling series, but they're putting on races like old veterans. Case in point, last weekend show at Devil's Bowl Speedway. Here's Stephanie Boyd.
Pole sitter Jerry Fox gets the jump on the field at the drop of the green as the United States Modified Series tries it again at Devil's Bowl Speedway after an earlier rainout. But by lap 2, Don Veal in the 1X has had enough of riding second, and he charges past Fox down the backstretch for the top spot. Veal won the last USMS feature heading into Devil's Bowl, and it looks like he might just make it 2 in a row as he dominates the early going. In fact, he's so hooked up that he's nearly a straightaway ahead of the rest of the field. That is, until his car stalls in turn 2, and Todd Short, who had moved into second, now finds himself up front. Short keeps it there for the next several laps, while behind him, Eddie Martin in the 8X comes out of nowhere to move into second. And before long, he's bearing down on the leader, pulling off the pass as they head through turn 4. Next, it looks like Martin's race as he pulls away from the rest of the field. But on a late race restart, he and Short are trying to fend each other off, which allows Van Gemmel to get by. Just after that, Martin's race car calls it quits, but up front, Gemmel sees his patience pay off as he goes on to take the win. Neil Flowers and Tim Donlinger finish second and third. Short winds up fourth, while Steve Gregg comes in fifth. For On Pit Road Final Edition, I'm Stephanie Boyd.
Thanks, Steph. You know, it's hard to believe that we've got a whole hour for this show because it goes by so fast. And you know what that means? We're out of time, but we'd like to thank you for hanging out with us. We'll be back with you again next week. Until then, I'm Pat Patterson. Have a great week, everybody.